Essay number 21, 102 Ways to Not Let Irrational Thoughts Ruin Your Life. Your mind is lying to you right now, not in some small, inconsequential way. It's constructing elaborate narratives about threats that don't exist, catastrophes that will never happen, and meanings that aren't there. And the worst part? You believe it. We all do. Every single day, your brain generates somewhere between 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts. Most of them are repetitive. Most of them are negative. And most of them, here's the kicker, are completely irrational. They have no basis in reality whatsoever. Yet we let them run our lives, make our decisions, and worst of all, create our suffering. So let's talk about how to stop letting your irrational thoughts ruin your life. Not in some vague self-help way, but with actual practical strategies you can use when your brain is actively trying to sabotage you. First, you need to understand the difference between what's actually happening and what you're thinking about. Right now, as you're watching this, what's actually happening? You're sitting somewhere, looking at a screen, breathing, existing. That's it. But what are you thinking about? Probably that thing someone said yesterday, that deadline next week, that worry about the future, that regret about the past. None of that is happening. It's all in your head. This distinction matters because we suffer more from our thoughts about reality than from reality itself. The actual present moment is almost always manageable. It's our thoughts about the past and future that create the suffering. Here's another crucial distinction: the difference between how you honestly feel and how you truthfully feel. Honestly is what's on the surface, what's temporary, what's reactive. Truth is deeper, more consistent, what remains when the emotional storm passes. You might honestly feel like your life is over because someone rejected you, but you truthfully know you'll survive and move on. Learning to access that deeper truth when you're drowning in honest but temporary feelings. That's the skill. Never, ever make decisions when you're emotionally activated. This is when you most want to quit your job, end your relationship, send that text, make that dramatic change. But that's exactly when you shouldn't. When you're consumed by emotion, you're literally using a different part of your brain than when you're calm. You're in fight or flight mode, not reasoning mode. Let yourself come back to neutral first. Problems that feel urgent at 2 a.m. rarely feel urgent at 2 p.m. Your mind is like fire. It can burn your house down with anxiety, depression, obsessive thoughts, and catastrophizing. Or it can cook your dinner, keep you warm, light your way. Same element, different application. The difference isn't in having thoughts or not having thoughts. It's in how you relate to them. Let's talk about anxiety for a second, because most irrational thoughts are anxiety in disguise. Anxiety stems from shame. It's the feeling that who you are or what you're doing is fundamentally not right, which triggers this urgent need to fix or change something. But here's the problem. There's usually nothing you can actually fix to make that feeling go away, because the feeling isn't based on reality. It's based on a mismanaged perception of who you are. When you're spiraling, when your thoughts are running away with you, try this. Write your actual life down on paper. Start with your name. Then write where you live, what work you do, what you've accomplished, who you love, who loves you, what you're working toward. This isn't positive thinking. This is reality checking. You're reminding yourself of what's actually true versus what your anxiety is telling you. Here's an exercise that will blow your mind. Make a list of everything you've worried about in the last year. Everything you lost sleep over, stressed about, convinced yourself was going to happen. Now check how many of those things actually happened the way you imagined. I'll bet it's less than 10%. We spend so much time preparing for disasters that never come, fighting battles that never happen, solving problems that don't exist. But knowing this intellectually isn't enough. You need to practice negative visualization with a twist. Take your biggest fears, imagine them actually happening, then make a concrete plan for how you'd handle it. Lost your job? Here's exactly what you'd do. Relationship ends? Here's your survival plan. When you show yourself that you could handle even the worst-case scenario, the fear loses its power. Stop being so cerebral. Get out of your head and into your body. Cook something complicated. Clean your entire house. Go for a run. build something with your hands. Your brain can only run one program at a time. When you're physically engaged, you can't be mentally spiraling. Most people who worry excessively are incredibly rigid in their thinking. They see things in black and white, right and wrong, success and failure. But reality is complex, nuanced, full of possibilities you can't see from your limited perspective. The majority of reality is like an iceberg. You're only seeing the tiny bit above water and making assumptions about the rest. Here's something counterintuitive. Practice healthy discomfort. Lean into stress instead of resisting it. Take cold showers, do hard workouts, have difficult conversations. When you regularly choose discomfort, unexpected discomfort loses its power to destabilize you. The goal isn't to feel good all the time. That's not mental health, that's mental illness. The goal is to experience the full range of human emotion without suppressing or suffering. Sadness, anger, fear, these aren't problems to solve, they're experiences to have. When a thought upsets you, ask yourself, is this actually true? Can I absolutely know this is true? 9 times out of 10, the answer is no. That person isn't actually judging you. That situation isn't actually hopeless. That future isn't actually determined. You're telling yourself stories and treating them like facts. If you have time to spiral into irrational thoughts regularly, you need more to do. I'm serious. Boredom is the breeding ground for anxiety. When you're deeply engaged in meaningful work, challenging projects, service to others, you don't have time to manufacture problems. Your brain needs problems to solve. Give it real ones instead of imaginary ones. Here's what nobody wants to admit. Everyone has weird, disturbing, completely irrational thoughts. Everyone. The person sitting next to you has had thoughts that would shock you. You're not broken, you're not sick, you're just human. The difference between people who suffer from their thoughts and people who don't isn't the thoughts themselves, it's how seriously they take them. When you're having a panic attack, when you're spiraling, say out loud, I am having irrational thoughts. This is anxiety. This is not reality. Naming it immediately reduces its power. You're observing the experience instead of being consumed by it. Identify your comfort zones and stop feeling guilty about needing them. Growth doesn't mean constantly pushing yourself past your limits. It means gradually expanding those limits while still having a safe base to return to. Going too fast, too hard, too far outside your comfort zone is a recipe for breakdown, not breakthrough. Stop living in the gray area when answers are available. If you're worried you have a disease, go to the doctor. If you're unsure how someone feels about you, ask them. If you don't know if you're doing well at work, request feedback. Most of our anxiety comes from uncertainty that we could easily resolve but don't because we're afraid of the answer. But even a bad answer is better than endless speculation. Here's a hard truth. Don't always trust yourself. Your feelings are real, but that doesn't make them true. If your feelings are based on irrational thoughts, and they often are, then they're pointing you in the wrong direction. Give yourself space to be wrong about your own life. But do trust what gives you peace. Even scary things, if they're right for you, will have an undercurrent of yes beneath the fear. That job that terrifies you but also excites you. That relationship that makes you vulnerable but also seen. That's your intuition speaking. Learn the difference between fear that's warning you and fear that's showing you where to grow. When you're most uncomfortable, that's usually a sign you need to expand. Not push through, not power over, but expand. Open your mind to possibilities you haven't considered. Challenge assumptions you've never questioned. The discomfort is growing pains, not danger signals. Practice radical acceptance of the parts of your story you're ashamed of. Say out loud, I'm in debt. I hate my job. I'm lonely. I'm scared. Not as condemnation, but as acknowledgement. You can't change what you won't acknowledge, and often just acknowledging it removes half its power. Understand that you have 3 layers. Your identity, which is who you think others think you are. Your shame, which is what prevents you from showing your true self, and your actual true self at the core. Most irrational thoughts breed in that shame layer, in the gap between who you pretend to be and who you really are. The smaller that gap, the fewer places for irrational thoughts to hide. Learn deep breathing. I know, everyone says this, but there's a reason. It works. When you're spiraling, your breathing becomes shallow, which signals danger to your brain, which creates more panic. Deep breathing literally tells your nervous system that you're safe. It's not woo-woo, it's biology. Stop pretending you know what other people are thinking. You don't. You're projecting your own fears onto them and then reacting to your own projection. That person who you think hates you, they're probably not thinking about you at all. They're too busy worrying about what you think of them. Stop pretending you know what the future holds. You don't. 5 years ago, could you have predicted where you'd be today? Exactly. So why do you think you can predict the next 5 years? The future you're afraid of is just one of infinite possibilities, and probably not even the most likely one. Your sense of self is entirely mental, and it's the foundation of your sanity. If you believe you're someone who can handle difficulty, you will handle difficulty. If you believe you're worthy of love, you'll recognize love when it comes. Your identity isn't fixed, it's a choice you make every day. Start defining yourself by qualities that can't be taken away. Instead of I'm successful, try I'm resilient. Instead of I'm attractive, try I'm kind. Instead of I'm smart, try I'm curious. External things can be lost. Internal qualities are yours forever. Try to see today from the perspective of yourself 5 years from now. Remember how 5 years ago there were things you stressed about that seem ridiculous now? The same will be true of today's worries. Most of what feels urgent now will be forgotten by next month. Sometimes the best way to deal with irrational thoughts is to stop analyzing them. Not everything requires deep examination. Sometimes a weird thought is just a weird thought. Let it pass like a cloud in the sky. Don't grab onto it and examine it from every angle. Just let it go. Fill your life with new things, new experiences, new people, new projects, new learning. Irrational thoughts thrive in stagnation. When you're constantly growing and experiencing, your brain is too engaged with reality to manufacture problems. Accept that irrational thoughts will always be part of your life. They're not going away. Having them doesn't mean you're broken or backsliding. It's like weather. Sometimes it's sunny, sometimes it's stormy, but it's always changing. You don't have to fix the weather. You just have to learn to live with it. There's a correlation between worry and creativity. The same brain that imagines disasters can imagine solutions. The same sensitivity that makes you anxious can make you innovative. Your overthinking isn't a bug. It's a feature that you haven't learned to channel properly. Remember Marcus Aurelius? Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been. Most of our suffering isn't from what happens to us, but from the story we tell ourselves about what it means. When you ask others for advice about your worries, notice what answer you're hoping they'll give. That's what your intuition is trying to tell you. You usually know what you need to do. You're just looking for permission to do it. Develop mental strength like you develop physical strength. You wouldn't expect to bench press 200 pounds without training. Why do you expect to handle major life stressors without mental training? Meditation, visualization, focus exercises, these aren't luxuries. They're necessities. Give yourself permission to feel okay. We wait for external validation to feel proud, happy, accomplished. But nobody else can actually make you feel anything. They just give you permission to feel what's already inside you. Learn to give yourself that permission. What you fear is the shadow side of what you love. If you're afraid of rejection, it's because connection matters to you. If you're afraid of failure, it's because achievement matters to you. The depth of your fear reveals the depth of your caring. Start seeing what you love as much as you worry about losing it. Keep your physical spaces clean and clear. Cluttered space equals cluttered mind. This isn't mystical, it's practical. Your environment is constantly sending signals to your brain about whether things are under control or chaotic. Consume your mind with interests beyond your own problems. Read voraciously. Watch documentaries. Learn skills. Study subjects that fascinate you. A mind engaged with the world doesn't have time to eat itself. Practice happiness. It's not something that happens to you. It's something you do. External events don't create happiness. Your thoughts about them do. You could win the lottery with a scarcity mindset and be miserable. You could lose everything with an abundance mindset and be at peace. Do something unexpected. Date the wrong person. Take the weird job. Move to the random city. You don't know what you don't know about yourself. Every unexpected experience teaches you that your assumptions about yourself and your life are more limited than reality. Choose to love what you have while working toward what you want. This isn't settling, it's building from gratitude instead of fear. When you run from what you don't want, you make fear-based decisions. When you build toward what you do want, you make love-based decisions. Be mindful of who you surround yourself with. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If they're anxious, you'll be anxious. If they're calm, you'll be calm. If they catastrophize, you'll catastrophize. If they problem solve, you'll problem solve. Spend time alone, especially when you don't want to. If you can't be comfortable with yourself, you'll always be running from yourself. And everywhere you go, there you are. Rewrite your success narrative. Sometimes success is getting out of bed. Sometimes it's not sending that text. Sometimes it's just surviving the day. Lower your expectations of what you should accomplish and raise your appreciation for what you do accomplish. Dream bigger. If you're stuck in the same mental loops, your vision isn't compelling enough to pull you forward. When you have something meaningful to work toward, something that matters more than your comfort, the little anxieties lose their grip. Don't confuse a broken dream with a broken future. Don't confuse a broken heart with a broken life. These are chapters, not the whole story. Make plans based on who you want to become, not who you're afraid of being. Build towards something instead of running from something. The energy is completely different, and so are the results. Remember, you're not upset about what you lost. You're upset about what you never got to have. You regret what you didn't do more than what you did. Let that inform your choices going forward. Focus on getting better, not perfect. Perfect is a moving target that doesn't exist. Better is achievable every single day. Let yourself be loved as you are. You'll quickly discover that the harshest judge in your life is you. Everyone else is too busy judging themselves to scrutinize you the way you think they are. Stop comparing your pain. Yes, others have it worse. Others also have it better. Neither fact changes your experience. Your pain is valid simply because you're experiencing it. Channel your overactive imagination into creation instead of destruction. Write the disaster scenarios as fiction. Paint your anxiety. Compose songs about your fears. Turn your mental energy into something tangible instead of letting it spin in circles. Ask for help when you actually need it. Not attention, not validation, but actual help with actual problems. Most of our irrational thoughts breed in isolation. Connection is the antidote. Read books, fiction, nonfiction, poetry, whatever. Other voices in your head teach you new ways to think. You can't think your way out of a mental prison using the same thoughts that created it. Trust that things get better. Not because time heals, it doesn't, but because you grow. Your capacity expands. Your 4th major life challenge won't devastate you like your first one did. Not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. And finally, just try. Put your everything into whatever's in front of you. Be kind when it's hard. Show up when you don't feel like it. You'll have less energy to worry when you're channeling it into something worthwhile. Your irrational thoughts aren't going anywhere. They're part of being human, but they don't have to run your life. They can be background noise instead of the main event. They can be weather you notice instead of storms that destroy you. They can be thoughts instead of truth. The goal isn't to never have irrational thoughts. It's to recognize them for what they are. Just thoughts. Not facts, not prophecies, not commands. Just the random firing of neurons in a brain that evolved to keep you alive in a world full of tigers that no longer exists. You're not broken for having these thoughts. You're not weak for struggling with them. You're just human, trying to navigate a complex world with a brain that wasn't designed for it. And that's okay. That's all any of us are doing. The difference between people who are consumed by their thoughts and people who aren't isn't the thoughts themselves. It's the relationship to those thoughts. It's the space between having a thought and believing it. It's the choice to observe instead of absorb. That space, that choice, that's where your freedom lives. And it's available to you right now, in this moment, regardless of what your mind is trying to tell you.